this is Bonaparte with Bernina of Naperville, and I am super excited for October. And you know why? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because it's Kimberbell Society, and there's finally a project the Bonaparte can get on board with, and that is this jar topper. I hope that the jar will hold dog treats, but the topper, Mom says, has one of my ancestors on it. I've never seen a bat, and I can only imagine that they're super cute, fun to play with, and sleep with, like me, the Bonaparte. But anyway, let's get on to this project, and before we get started, don't look at Mom's left hand. She burned her hand, and like a fingernail got ripped off when the shower attacked her. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you, Bonaparte, for that fun little introduction. I appreciate it. So this month is super cute as we head into Halloween in October. We're making a bat jar topper. And just like every other month with our Kimberbell Society, you can buy the October kit right on our Bernina of Naperville webpage. And if you're looking at our interactive handout that we add as a supplement, you'll see the link right there on the Buy It Here link, and that'll take you right to our website where indeed you can pick the drop-down menu, go down to October 4th, and you'll see that there's a fabric kit and design, or there's the fabric kit only. If you do not have any other subscriptions and don't know how to get the design otherwise, hey, get it from us. And while I'm on that subject, you want to note that although you are buying the designs and the kit from Bernina of Naperville, the digital embroidery files and Kimberbell instructional PDF are emailed to you direct from Kimberbell. That's right. We're submitting the order to Kimberbell on your behalf, and they're going to email you directly. So you just want to make sure that you have your right Kimberbell login information and everything like that so that you'll be able to receive it. And you know, if you're having trouble, you might want to open up our handout here and watch and learn how to retrieve your files from Kimberbell. I made a little link right here in this handout. Otherwise, you can always call the store with information. We are happy to answer any of your questions. So the hoops that you're going to need this month are the large 6-inch by 8-inch oval or the medium 4-inch by 5-inch hoops for Bernina are totally appropriate. We were able to shove everything in your little canning jar this month, so you're going to get that canning jar plus the light mesh cutaway, wash away, stabilizers, a wash away topping, flexi foam, fusible backing, embroidery topping, and fat eighth of gray felt and a fat eighth of purple polka dot cotton for your cute little flying mouse. Now the thread colors are up to you. We don't provide those, we just have suggestions for them, and so we have narrowed it down to light gray, which is Mystic Gray, number 0150 with isocord, a dark gray, which is Slate Gray, number 3265, and black, number 0020, and Petal Pink 2250, and Grape 2910. And once again, those are all isocord thread. And our bobbin colors, well, in addition to regular bobbin fill, we're going to be winding 1/4 of a bobbin with Mystic Gray and 1/4 of a bobbin with the Grape. And of course, the Kimberbell instructions are going to make sure that you know exactly when to change those bobbins to match the top thread. So you're going to need some additional supplies: cotton swabs, a shot glass or other small water container, some small sharp scissors for trimming in the hoop, a USB stick or Wi-Fi transfer device to send your designs over, and a hot glue gun, because I have to tell you, I was able to center my design a little bit more easily when I glued my little topper on the inside of that jar. So let's go ahead and head over and stitch this baby out. This cute little jar topper can be stitched for a wide mouth or a regular mouth mason jar. Now, of course, we provided you with the regular mouth. I guess it's not a mason jar, it's a canning jar, and I'm using the large 6x8 oval hoop with Bernina in my demonstration. But if you'll notice down here, we have these are the files that you're going to need from your Kimberbell files that are going to be emailed to you. So make sure that you use the right ones consistently anyway. So this is a quick little tip for those of you that have the Bernina embroidery software, either Creator or Designer Plus. Sometimes these Kimberbell designs can have like a starting point right in the middle of the hoop where it just kind of like starts, then stops, then cuts for no apparent reason. If you want to fix that, all you have to do is pick each design. Right now I'm at my regular mouth, bat, wing, and ears. So I'm just going to go up to design and I'm going to do the auto start and end. And on here, I want to make sure that it does this at the first stitch of the design and the last stitch of the design. And then I'm going to say OK. And then if that doesn't change the spot from the middle, you're going to show your connectors and you're going to turn off artistic view. And that's up here in the corner. Then you're going to come down here and I'm going to just draw a little box around here to select this area, zoom in, and I'm choosing my reshape object tool. And I'm just going to select this little node right here and delete it. And now what I've done is I've eliminated that start and stop that just does nothing. Let's repeat for our bat face for the regular mouth jar. Once again, we're going to show artistic view. We're going to make sure we show our connectors. And we're going to go up to design and auto start thread, auto start and end to make sure that it indeed is at the first stitch of the design and the last stitch of the design. All right, so now I can see there's that little jump bit that was driving me a little bit kooky caca. All right, so I'm going to select this, reshape, and now I'm going to select it and delete it. And it goes away to the actual first stitch of the design. And now I can just save these and send them to my machine. The first design I'm picking is the bat ears and bat wings. And as always, make sure you pick your correct foot for embroidery and your correct needle plate. Now, I am not doing this until a little bit later, but you might actually want to turn off thread away if you have it engaged on your machine. You do that simply by going to your gears, selecting your embroidery settings, and thread away is the little needle that wiggles back and forth like that, and we want to turn that off. Let's stitch this out and go through the steps necessary to create our project. So here we are. I've got the aqua mesh hooped up and we are simply just going to be stitching the outline of the bat ears. The first one, the ears and the wings, are just going to be stitched on this water soluble stabilizer. And what we're doing here is just, there's just a little bit of felt that you get in this kit, so we want to make sure that we use it appropriately. So once these two ears are stitched out, we're going to simply place our gray felt into position. Now, fair warning, I did not use any expert tape here, and it was simply because it was heavy and seemed to just sit down on the stabilizer just the way I wanted. And like magic, we're just going to cut the extra away, leaving just those pink little ears. And I just think this is so cute. Well, that was horrific, but all I was trying to do was bring the thread up with my thread up command so I could stitch the placement stitch for the lower part of the wings. So now it's pretty easy. All we want to do after we have that placement stitch is take our purple polka dot, which has been backed with the fusible backing, place it on top of this registration marks, and then do our tack down stitch. And then once that tack down stitch finishes, it's as simple as trimming really close to the edge of the purple. And once this step is done, we're going to turn the hoop over, and if you have any little hairy bits, trim them, and then cover it with a piece of the gray felt. This is the, I think 3" by 6", something like that. And then I'm using the expert tape only because we're working upside down and I don't want this falling off. So I'm going to tape the back of that carefully. And I like to make sure I tape it so that the stitching isn't going to go over that tape. But once you've taped all 4 sides of this, we're going to carry this bit back over to the machine. And then it's going to stitch that backing down. And now we're just going to trim more hairy bits, and we're going to trim. Now, if I were going to trim this again, I might have trimmed about 1/8 of an inch away from the gray, but you do you. And then this is where we change our bobbin to the grape isocord thread. That's color number 7. And then we're going to do that nice little satin stitch to cover the lower wings. And then we're going to switch the bobbin to Mystic Gray. And that's going to do some detail stitching. And once this Mystic Gray is complete, we don't need to change our thread. We can just do a simple placement stitch using this gray. And there goes our 2" by 6" piece of felt. And now what this is doing is it's tacking down the upper portion of the wing. And we're going to let it complete that business. And then once again, when you trim this, don't trim all the way to the very, very, very edge. Leave just a little bit so this doesn't come undone, because you know what? Getting into a jar for treats is some serious business. So just leave a little bit extra along here. We want this to be like a hearty jar topper, you know what I'm saying? All right, and then I do take some time to trim out my wings, leaving a little bit of stabilizer to seal the edges, but I also take time to trim any whiskers or anything like that. And now, woohoo, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, everybody, right? Don't worry, that's not vodka, that's water in my little Bernina University shot glass. And this is a cotton swab, because we can't say anymore, apparently. So we're going to dip our cotton swab in that water and just soak the edges of our ears and our wings. And you really want to get your nice and wet. And this takes a little bit of time, but saturate that. And then I did this process and let my little bits dry before I went on to the next step. This is not my kind of work, I have to tell you that. All right, so once your ears and your wings are dry, you're going to hoop up a layer of poly mesh stabilizer and do a placement stitch for this purple piece that's been interfaced with the fusible woven. And do your best to center it, but it's not perfect. You just want to make sure that all of those edges cover that circle. And I'm using the slate gray. I'm using Mystic Gray for this step, but it honestly doesn't matter because it's going to get covered up. So this stitch here, and then our next one is the lid placement. And I do recommend that you switch to the charcoal gray for this step. And our charcoal gray being the slate gray. And once that step is complete, we're going to stitch the next step, which is actually going to be a placement line for our flex foam. Place your flex foam into place, covering all of that perimeter of that previous stitching. And then when we stitch this, we just want to be careful that nothing moves around. I did not use the expert tape. I know if you're a careful person, you're going to use it. And then once this stitch is out, I'm going to magically trim away really close to the edge all of that flex foam away from the edge. So just the little bat face of our jar topper will be padded. And trimmy trim trim. And once that's stitched down, we're going to be doing little registration marks to know where to put our ears. So it seems a little ridiculous, but I don't skip this stitch. This is just going to stitch 2 little lines there, and that's emulating exactly where the stitch down pieces for the ears are going to go. And here I do indeed use the expert tape. So I place my left little ear into position. And then when you tape these down, please make sure that you keep your tape away from the stitching edge. And now there goes the right ear. And I'm going to make a confession. I had to undo the right ear and restitch it after I filmed this. And it's because number one, I stitched on the tape and I didn't like it. And number two, it was just in there too hard, too deep. So my bat would have had one big ear and one little ear. So I redid it. But you know, we all have our level of what we can live with, right? And I mean, this is just a jar topper, but it is a jar topper for Bonaparte's treats, and he's kind of picky, so you know. And see there, you can see that's a little too much there. But with the magic of video, I fixed this, and you're none the wiser, unless I wouldn't have told you. Okay, so now the bat wings are going to go into position, and the bat wings go into place just like the ears did. We're going to put an ear, a wing ear. These look like ears to me. So we're going to put the little wings right there in that little notch where that stitching is going to happen. And we can just place our little wings into position and double check that you're actually putting the wings on the right way. We don't want backwards wings on this bat. And then use your expert tape to hold them in position. And at this point, remember I told you how to turn thread away off? Definitely turn thread away off before this last embroidery design. You'll thank me for it later. Once the bat wings are stitched on, we're going to place our topper into position. This is water-soluble topper, and this is just to keep everything stuck down and flat for when we do our last few steps. We're going to place our 3-inch square felt piece into position and stitch around this and trim, and then do the cover stitch on that piece. The nose will go next. That's in the pink. And then after the pink are his cute little fangs, and that's done in Mystic Gray. And then we're going to cover his face with this topper. Now, this is a black topper that is not water soluble, but what it's meant to do is make sure that when we stitch through the squishy felt and foam and everything, that it still stays really dark under that thread. And once this is complete, we're going to trim our little threads, our little whiskers, and we're going to remove this topper, and it peels right off. And now we can take this guy out of the hoop, remove all of the tape, get the item out of the hoop like I said, and trim. And we need to be really careful when we trim that we do not trim the wings. So the Kimberbell instructions tell you to leave about 1/8 of an inch away from your cover stitching, but let me tell you something, you are probably going to need to get a little closer than this if you want to fit your jar in there appropriately. So just fair warning, you might have to have a couple go-arounds with that. Match it up with your jar lid, and you can see there's about 1/4 of an inch around the edge. So I, was just struggling getting all of this into position. So I decided that this was a job for my hot glue gun. So I just took my lid, turned it right side up, and glued the very edge around. Now we won't have to saturate this. We don't need to put a lot of glue on here. We're not trying to glue this on the lid per se. We're just trying to make sure that the bat jar topper piece doesn't wiggle around when we try to shove it in this other part of the lid. So just, let that cool off, let it dry, then peekaboo. Peekaboo, that never gets old. All right, so close up your little bat's wings, cover his face. This is a ouchy business, right? And then slip this through the jar lid. And you want to have your tweezers on deck for this so that you can pull his little ears out from under the lid. But get everything tucked in. It's going to kind of snap into place a little bit. and then we pull that little ear out and that other little ear, and then screw it to make sure it fits on your jar. And then now it's time to look around the house and see what we can fill in this thing. Oh, very best dog treats. You know, honestly, these are like little strawberry flavored bites with like some kind of coconut or whatever. Bonaparte is not particularly fond of them, but you know, if he sees me squeezing these into this jar that he's been watching me look at all day, then yeah, they'll be the most interesting treats and delicious ones in the world.
We hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have a great Halloween. And if you want to see more videos like this one, or fun things, or maybe even the occasional video with me, the Bonaparte, don't forget to check out our Bernina of Naperville YouTube channel. It's easy. It's youtube.com/Bernina of Naperville, and there you can like, comment, and subscribe. Flattering comments about the Bonaparte, highly recommended. Oh yeah, and don't forget to check out at Mr. Bernina on Instagram and Bonaparte * Donahue on Facebook.
And enough of this self-promotion, buddy.
Sorry, Mom, I just wanted to get it all in there.
But Bonaparte forgot to tell you to make sure you check the description of this video and on BERNINAofNaperville.com under Kimberbell Society for our additional handouts and instructions for this class. Thanks.